Pro Football Hall of Fame, Class of 2017. Kicker, Morten Andersen. Morten Andersen had a very illustrious career. He played for about, 25 years. So that in itself was amazing, first and foremost. Just the fact that he was able to play that many years from 1982 to 2007, that's nuts. That's amazing, especially for a kicker. Again, kicker do their average lifespan as a kicker in the NFL is it's pretty high. You know, they last a long time due to body not being that tore down from hits and stuff, but it's still impressive nonetheless. So let's just run down his biography, if you will. First of all, he's going to be the fourth place kicker in the National Football Hall of Fame. George Blanda, Lou Groza, and Jan Sternrud, those three, he's joining them. It's amazing. Kickers have not really been into the Hall that much. I think kickers will start being. I mean, you're looking at John Hanson, Matt Elam, all those guys that will pass by. Those guys should be in the Hall. Matt Stover, those guys will be in the Hall of Fame. I think, getting Morten in the first one is a very big yes. He's just flat out one of the best kickers of all time. So let's just take a look at what he's done in his career. When you take a look at what he's been able to do, so you're looking at his career in terms of from 0 to 19 yards, he made 14, but he attempted 14. He was 13 for 14 out of that. So, he was almost automatic. From the 20 to 29 yard line, he was 176 out of 181. Again, very, very greatly at that. Very great. 30 to 39 yards, 189 to 213. That's pretty good average. And then you're looking at once you get to the 40 to 49 yards kicks, you're looking at he was 147 out of 217 attempts. My bad, sorry. That's pretty great. But how about this 50 plus? He was 40 for 84. 50 plus field goals, 50-yarders and above. That's amazing to get 40 in your career, and to attempt 84. You were pretty much 50% in there, 40-some%. But to be that range, and that's pretty impressive. I got to give that to him. Pretty impressive. Overall, he made 565 field goals out of 709. His field goal percentage was a 79.7. That's pretty great for your entire career. He was 98.8% extra point percentage. That's amazing because he had 849 extra points he made out of 859. That's pretty nice. That's pretty great. You're looking at in the postseason. That was just a regular season. But if you look at Morten Andersen, he actually did get to play some postseason games. He actually got to play 11 of them. And in those 11, pretty much he tallied 23 out of 23 extra points, so 100%. He was 18 for 23, so he had a 78.3 field goal percentage in the postseason. So pretty much a total of 77 points that he averaged for a team. It's pretty great. That's pretty much 2 football games worth of scoring. That's for a kicker, it shows how valuable kickers are. People don't realize, but they are very valuable, and he was very, very valuable to this team. Any team pretty much that he was on. And he actually played for, that's right, he played for New Orleans. He was a Saint for 13 years. He was a Falcon for 8 years. He was a Chief for 2 years, a Viking for a year, and a Giant for a year. But people are most likely going to remember him for being a New Orleans Saint and an Atlanta Falcon. And if you're a Viking fan, you will know him for pretty much putting you guys out of the Super Bowl and nailing the Atlanta Falcons into it, where they eventually got demolished by the Denver Broncos in that year. Now, when you look at what he's been able to do in his career, first of all, he's a first-team all-1980s team, as well as an all-1990s team. So he was able to be in an all-decade team 2 decades, and that's how great of a player he was. He just spanned many, many years. And you're looking at Pro Bowls. He was in the Pro Bowl for 85, 86, 87, 88, 90, 92, 95. So you see he had his number of Pro Bowls. He was also a 3 first-team All-Pro, 86, 87, and 95. Pretty much played 382 games. In his career, he scored 2,544 career points, and that's pretty much the first. It's first all time right now. In his career, it is number 1 right now. He is, yeah, like I said, he's right there at number 1, which is really impressive. Like I said, for career field goals, he's got 565 of them. That puts him at first. Right now, he is first still, unless Vinatieri wants to break that. We'll see. Extra points, you're looking at his actual percentage is a 98.836%. Extra point, 37th all time. Okay. And also, he attempted 709 field goals, also first in NFL history, as well as field goal percentage. He had a 79.690%, which ranks as 51st in the National Football League all time. So, pretty much, very illustrious career. Born in Denmark. Nickname is the Great Dane. People don't really know much about him. They really won't, just because, he's a kicker. People don't really pay attention to kickers. But honestly, he is like a pioneer of kickers. That's why it's great to see him in the Hall. It's great to see him have a chance at really excelling. And, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where he's going to go in terms of how he's going to revolutionize future Hall of Fame ballots with Jason Elam, those kind of guys. I think it will put in a very big stepping stone for these kickers to finally get more kickers into the Hall. But congrats to Morten Andersen. Running back, Terrell Davis. We all know Terrell Davis. Played 7 years in the NFL. TD, as people have called him, as a Bronco fan or just a football fan in general. And he sure did score TDs. He was very valuable to his team. And a very big reason they won 2 straight Super Bowls out there in Denver with John Elway and Shannon Sharp, those kind of guys. Now, let's take a look at pretty much his life, and we're going to dive into his stats and everything. So first of all, he played for Long Beach State University. He actually got a scholarship from there. He was born in San Diego, California, born and raised. Ended up transferring over to Georgia, and he really did star there as well. And you know what? That kind of pushed him over to pretty much getting able to get drafted, and he got drafted in 95. Now, in 95, he was drafted the 6th round, which is amazing. And at that time, they didn't think he would really accumulate as much time for him. They didn't think he would really blossom into a great player, but he blossomed into a great player. Unfortunately, what happened for him, though, was 7 seasons. Something had to give. Yes, he had his best seasons were definitely 96, 97, 98. He slowed down a bit, but he was still getting there. And it was a knee injury. Knee injury pretty much killed his career, just blowing out his knee on one hit. And it's sad, but it happens in the NFL. Players you sign up for this, and sometimes it doesn't work out. You start to have something so great, and then just that quickly it can turn 360, and you're pretty much out of the NFL or out of the sport because of an injury. But anyway, finally he's officially part of the Hall of Fame. He's been waiting a long time for, I think he's been like 5 or 6 ballots of that, in terms of just waiting for his name to be called. And it's like I said, it's great to see that he's finally made it. We're going to look in depth about his stats, and it all starts with his regular season rushing and receiving there. First of all, he played 78 games. He got the ball 1,655 times. He had 7,607 rushing yards. He had 60 touchdowns. His longest run was 71 yards. His average run was 4.6. His average per game was 97.5. You're looking at, he had 169 receptions, 1,280 receiving yards. His average yard per reception was 7.6 and 5 touchdowns, as long as 35 is as his longest reception, pretty much. He had 20 fumbles, again, 95, 96, 97. Still, he was not, it wasn't great for him in terms of fumbles. He did fumble a lot, 5. Like, he's fumbled 5 in 95. In 96, he fumbled 5 times. In 97, he fumbled 4 times. Dropped it down to 2, which was his MVP season. And, of course, we cannot forget his best season, and by far one of the best seasons in NFL history, when he broke the 2,000 rushing yard mark, and he got 2,008 yards, and he scored 21 touchdowns. He was almost unstoppable, and a very big reason of why that team repeated, pretty much. In the playoffs, he played 8 games. He rushed 204 times. He had 1,140 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns, a long for 62, an average of 5.6. Average game was 142.5 yards. Very great. Had 19 receptions, 131 yards, and the average yard of reception was 6.9 for him. He did not get any touchdowns, but his longest was 39. So that's very nice to see from them. And you just look at his honorary kind of awards and everything and honors. He was the 96 NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He was the 97 Super Bowl MVP, 98 MVP, 98 AP Offensive Player of the Year. Also, Pro Football Hall of Fame, second team, all 1990s team, and the 95 NFL All-Rookie team. 3-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All-Pro. You're looking at 62nd in the carries list. He is also 55th on the rushing yards list. He's also 48th on the rushing touchdowns list. Yards per rush attempt, he's 27th all time with 4.6. Rushing yards a game, he's 3rd actually. Touchdowns, he is 116th. And yards from scrimmage, he is 143rd. So it just comes to show from a 6th-round pick what could happen. And what could happen was a really studly running back. It's just another running back that deserves to be in the Hall. A lot of running backs are definitely started to, they have been obviously inducted, but it's great to see more running backs like these getting inducted just because of how dominant they really were, Like, you don't really appreciate how much this entire running back era kind of ship-shifted, because people don't realize, you had the chance to see Marshall Faulk, you had the chance to see Terrell Davis, you had the chance to see, you just look at the entire complexion of it, like, running backs are a great breed to watch, like, they're very short, they have a very short lifespan because of how much embodiment they have and how much, like, work they have to put in, and how all that is just gonna tear your entire body apart, because you don't last very long. But you're looking at, like, you want to look at the modern era halfbacks. It's great to see a bunch of different kinds of guys and that come from that position, and it's nice to see that many do become Hall of Famers. But congratulations to Terrell Davis. You are now officially in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Safety, Kenny Easley. Kenny Easley is a very special player and has a very tremendous story. People don't realize that, but he has a very tremendous story, and we'll get more into that. But let's first take a look at how rare safeties are. First of all, they've only inducted Ken Houston, Jack Christensen, Paul Krause, Yale Larry, Ronnie Lott, technically corner and safety, Mel Renfro, safety and cornerback, Emlyn Tunnel, Enos Williams, but he was more of a corner. Larry Wilson and Willie Wood. And obviously you can put Rod Woodson in there, as he had some stints in there. But the whole point of this is pretty much the fact that yes, he's one of the few safeties that are really inducted to the Hall of Fame, and he was inducted via the Veterans Committee because he played from '81 to '87. So, but it's great to see him in the Hall. I mean, I'm excited to know that he is finally in the Hall of Fame for something that for his play. His play was amazing. But let's first take a look at what happened here. So let's first take a look at his entire bio. Kenny Easley was born in Chesapeake, Virginia. He played football, college football, at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. And he was drafted by the Seahawks the first round in the 1981 NFL Draft. Now, on top of that, he also played basketball. He was actually drafted by the Chicago Bulls in the 10th round in the 1981 NBA Draft, but he didn't want to play. He wanted to be an NFL football player, which is a very great decision that he did. He probably would have excelled at basketball, but he was a football player for sure. So, anyway, 4th overall in the first round, very high, and it was really nice to see that for sure, because he deserved to be there. You know, he really did. Now, he had a very, very, just off the start, great career. Just overall, just great career. Now comes the twist. So he was injured in 1986, still playing there. He injured his knee. He missed the remainder of the season there due to an ankle injury. And in December, he was rumored to be a trading block as the Seahawks. They were trying to get a first overall pick from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the time. They wanted to draft quarterback Vinny Testaverde, most likely. Now, in '87, Easley was a Seahawk player. He was a player representative. He actually led the 1987 NFL strike, and it led to him not really playing much that year as well. He convinced a lot of NFL players to go on this strike, but they used replacement players to fill up their roster. So that was, we all know about that. It was nice of him to really step up and try to get a strike going for sure. He was trying to prove a point, but like I said, without him, the Seahawks passing defense was not as dangerous. And this was a Seahawks team that back in the '80s, Seattle was not tremendously gifted in terms of football. They were really not like today, at least. But Ken Easley really proved and really provided some really nice and a great show to Seattle, honestly. Now, let's take a look at 1988. The Seahawks offered Easley to several clubs. They really wanted to get a quarterback. Jim Zorn was not really working for them, and he was declining in play. And pretty much declining in play was because he spent a lot of time on the strike, but also his backup, Paul Moyer, was starting to blossom. So he was pretty much expendable. They're at the point where they're like, we don't really need you anymore. On top of that, he was traded on April 22nd, 1988 to the Phoenix Cardinals at the time for quarterback Kelly Stouffer. I don't really know him. I'm pretty sure that didn't work out so well for Seattle in the long run. Anyway, so when he went to a physical on that team, he was diagnosed with this syndrome called idiopathic nephrotic. It's a severe kidney disease that voided the trade, and pretty much his days were numbered in terms of Seattle, and instead they offered, it shocked him for sure, but the Seahawks offered different types of draft picks, and he easily announced his retirement later on. It's amazing. He filed a lawsuit against Seattle, their trainer, their doctors, because apparently they actually overdosed him with Advil for an ankle injury, and it could have caused his kidney failure. He knew, though, pretty early, though, he had some issues with the kidney, failed the physical, of course, like you said. But he claimed that he took 15 to 20 Advils like daily for 3 months just to reduce the swelling on the ankle. And the doctor told him to stop eventually. It just, it was able to be easily attainable in the locker room. So that's something that's, but again, that was in the time people didn't really know much, I guess, like in terms of like, they weren't prehistoric, but they weren't like, it wasn't like they knew what they were, they didn't like, oh yeah, we got all the science. They didn't really have enough science to really prove this kind of thing. But he did receive a new kidney 2 years later, though, and he cut ties with the Seahawks organization, the lawsuit. It just didn't end well. It was not a great, relationship to Seattle and easily. But he eventually did step into this car dealership kind of thing, actually in Washington State, Linwood, which is by the Seattle area. Right now, he was named a captain in Super Bowl 49 when Seattle was there. The fact that he got to get, he's in the Ring of Honor. He's been to games now. Like, it seems like Seattle and him are starting to finally catch a break and starting to actually become friendly with each other once again, which is very nice to see. Now, enough of the story. That was a great story, though, to really share, and it's really important to know these backgrounds of these players because people don't really know. They just assume they come through everything or something else. They all have their different stories. That's why I love talking about all these different players. Now, Kenny Easley. Let's just take a look at what he was able to do. First of all, in pretty much his 6-7 years, he played in 89 games. He actually had 32 interceptions for 3 touchdowns. His longest interception was 82 yards. He had 2 fumbles, 11 fumble recoveries for 54 yards. And he actually, they recorded 8 sacks. Never got a total number of tackles, but I'm pretty sure he had around like 400, 500 tackles, I'm sure. Just because he was that kind of safety that would really get to it, get to the ball, be a ball hog, get there, Now in the playoffs, he actually played in 6 games there. He had an interception for no touchdowns, and he had a sack. So not bad for 6 games. He also was in kick and punt returns. He had 26 returns for 302 yards, pretty much 11.6 yards per run. And playoff kicks, he also had 6 returns for 57 yards for 9.5 yards average. Okay, so let's take a look at what he's done, his awards and stuff. First of all, he's in 1984 NFL AP Defensive Player of the Year. He's also the Pro Football Hall of Fame first team, all 1980s team, along with getting 5 Pro Bowls from 82, 83, 84, 85, and 87. He's a 3 first-team All-Pro, winning that in 83, 84, 85. Fumbles recovery. In the 81 season, he had 4. That was the most. That was great. But anyway, let's take a look at his career-wise. Like 32 interceptions. That's 168th, ranked 168th. Interception return yards, 538. That's 133rd in all time. Interception return touchdown is 3. That's 130th. So it's not like he's like top 5 in anything, but he was a very productive safety for the time that he was there. Unfortunately, I wish he had more time to play. I feel like he would have been a lot more valuable to this team. I feel like he could have really done some good to the organization, try to get him to, really become a studly kind of defense. But it is what it is. Things happen. But what's happening now. Ken Easley, you're going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so congratulations on your part. Owner Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is a current owner of the Dallas Cowboys, has been an owner of the Dallas Cowboys since 1989. Pretty much this was America's team. Pretty much their title was America's team. He brought in pretty much a new type of really tradition and culture to Dallas that people will not ever bring. It's a unique style that he's done, drafting really great players, Hall of Famers, just in general winners, and he was able to really recreate that culture in Texas, and he really deserves to be nominated as a Hall of Famer now. In this class, it's pretty talented. He's worth $5.2 billion as an owner. That's like what I think that's like one of the richest owners in the entire world. But where has he exactly come up, and how he became to this point is where I start my story. Pretty much, he's from actually Inglewood, California. He actually moved down to Arkansas, North Little Rock to be exact. Went to college at University of Arkansas. Fraternity man. Played football. He was actually an offensive lineman. And he was a good player, but he never really got to. He didn't really like the whole having a job of an athlete. He enjoyed more of the business side of things, purchasing, and just pretty much kind of having that whole developing a winner kind of thing. And so that's when he started to really receive his master's degree in business. And after that, he wanted to attempt to buy a team, which the first team he wanted to buy was San Diego Chargers. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But in 1989, he purchased the Dallas Cowboys for $140 million. And his first thing was he fired very legendary coach Tom Landry, to where at that point they thought, that's nuts, he's one of the best coaches of all time. But he brought in Jimmy Johnson, and what happened there? Well, they won 3 Super Bowls in that span, pretty much naming them the team of the 90s in football. And of course, Johnson departed, Barry Switzer, he still won 3, with 2 with Johnson, 1 with Switzer. But they still were able to bring in money and just really develop winners. At the time, his value was estimated at $4.2 billion. Now it's $5.2 billion. So he's pretty much had $1 billion of a raise. Of course, he's had a lot of criticism in terms of him trying to be the focal point of what they do and everything they do and how they run the entire team. But right now, it seems like they are going in the right direction. Again, they have Dak Prescott now. They have Elliott, those kind of guys. They're a good team. They could be a team that wins the Super Bowl very, very soon. We do not know, honestly. But he got a lot of great players out of his building a championship team. Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo. He didn't win a championship, but he did pretty well in Dallas. Des Bryant, Elliott, Prescott. I mean, I could go down the list. Bringing in Charles Haley from free agency. It's a lot of guys that made them a really great team, and now they have a really great offensive line, the best in the NFL. So, honestly, nothing to complain about with his resume. And as of right now, what has he done? You can look at year by year. He started in 1989. They only won 1 game. They went to 91 where they were 11-5. They lost in the division. But then after 92, they won the Super Bowl. Won the Super Bowl again. They lost in the championship to 94 to the Niners. Then after that, they still went back to the playoffs. Lost in the division. 97. Never went. 98, lost in the wild card. 99, lost in the wild card. And then, couldn't really reach the entire the postseason play until 2003, where they lost in the wild card again at 10-6 record. Went back 2006, 9-7, lost in the wild card. And then 2007, they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champs, New York Giants. 2009, lost in the division at 11-5. And 2014, again, lost in the division. And, of course, this previous year, they lost in the division again, so to the Green Bay Packers. But this team will win again. It seems like it's not fun to see ever since 95. all they've done has been pretty much losing, and that's pretty much probably his biggest criticism as manager of 28 years, manager owner. But 14-11 postseason record as an owner, 243 victories, 205 losses. So he's still above 500 on there. But I give him credit. I think he's built a really great winner and transitioned Dallas sports forever. So I think he deserves that honor. And congratulations on being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, class of 2017. Defensive end Jason Taylor. Defensive end Jason Taylor played for about, around 14, 15 years? 13 years, sorry. 13 years. And he will definitely go in as a Dolphin. He played most of his career as a Dolphin. I was actually right. It was actually 15 years. He played 13 years with the Dolphins. He played a year with the Jets and a year with the Redskins. Obviously, his best years were in Miami when he was a Redskin and a Jet. It really wasn't his. It was kind of his pinnacle of his career. He was definitely an older individual. But let's just break down exactly his story and how it all started. So first of all, Jason Taylor, defensive end, linebacker, whatever you want to call him. I definitely would say he's more of a defensive end though. Was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he actually got a 4-year scholarship and was a starter for 3 years at a very small university called the University of Akron. And there he developed he was just a really well-rounded football player. He had 279 tackles, 21 sacks, 7 fumbles recovery, and 3 interceptions. He did get the first team All-MAC as a junior and senior, as well as an All-America pick as a junior. And he was also part of the men's basketball team. He actually is inducted into the Akron's Ring of Honor. Now, Jason Taylor was drafted in 1997 in the 3rd round. I believe it's like the 73rd overall pick or so. So pretty low for a guy that would turn out to be a Hall of Famer. And he signed a 4-year deal, worth approximately $1.3 million. And from then on there, he was a lights-out, just an all-pro, just a monster defensive end, and just a beast. Very fun to watch. Very, very fun to watch. Now, you look at his statistics and what he's done. He played in 233 games. He had 8 interceptions for 110 interception yards and 3 interception touchdowns. He had 77 pass deflections. He had 46 forced fumbles. He had 29 fumble recoveries, and 6 of them were touchdowns. He had 139.5 sacks, 525 tackles, and 3 safeties. I mean, if that doesn't say that he's one of the best defensive ends of all time, then I don't know what does, because he is. He's developed into that type of work ethic, into that type of person. And it's great to see. Very humble guy. Didn't really hear much about his aggressiveness or anything. He was just there to play football because he loved the game. Now, if you want to look at his awards, he was a 2006 Defensive Player of the Year, a 2007 Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 2nd team All-2000s team. Pro Football, just first team All-2000s team according to Pro Football Reference. In 1997, he was on the All-Rookie team. He is a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2000, 2002, 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007. He is a 3 first-team All-Pro, 2000, 2002, 2006. Also, he has played in 233 games, which ranks 89th. He's had 29 fumbles recovered. That's 29th, actually, all-time. 246 fumble return yards is actually 4th all-time. Fumble return touchdown he's got 6. That's actually 1st all-time, which is really impressive. Interception, return touchdowns, 3. It's 130th all time. He is also 7th on the sacks, on the all-time sacks list, and 4th all-time on the safeties list. So that has to say something, honestly. In the playoffs, he was in the playoffs 4 times, 97, 99, 2000, 2001 with the Miami Dolphins, and then in 2010 with the New York Jets. Those New York Jets went to the AFC Championship, and they lost to, I believe, the Pittsburgh Steelers that year. Anywho, I believe it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anywho, he had 6 tackles and an assist. Unfortunately, they didn't really get it done. He never got a Super Bowl. He never got a chance to play in the big game, and that's very sad. But he will be remembered as one of the best defensive ends of all time. So, congratulations, Jason Taylor. You are now a part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Running back, LaDainian Tomlinson. LaDainian Tomlinson is a Charger for life. He will definitely go in as a San Diego Charger. Played his last 2 years in New Jersey, technically, but it is the New York Jets. But those obviously weren't his best years. Those weren't his prime years. Those weren't the years where he had 18, 15 rushing yards and 28 rushing touchdowns. That was a great year for him. That was in 06 there. Like he had those 1,000+ yard seasons. That was there in San Diego. That was where he made his legendary really showcase for the Hall, and he is in the Hall now because of what he's been able to do is incredible. His speed, everything about him. He is pretty much top 5, pretty much on the list of one of the best running backs of all time. So let's take a look at his entire background. First of all, he was born in Rosebud, Texas. Went to high school in Texas, grew up in Texas. Went to college at TCU and developed himself as a star. He was already a star from the get-go. Just super fantastic sprinter, very fast, was in track and field. And he was able to get a lot of great numbers out there in TCU. He rushed for over 5,000 yards. He had over 50 touchdowns. He was able to have 43 receptions in there. He rushed the ball 943 times. He played all 4 years of college. So that was very nice to see. And he got a lot of awards there. An All-American. He won the Best Running Back Award, Doak Walker Award, Jim Brown Trophy. For his conference, he was first team. So he got a lot of honors, and that's what made it so easy for him to be picked super high. And he got picked 5th overall in the 2001 NFL Draft. But the thing was, still people kind of doubted the way he was going to develop and how he was actually going to be in the NFL. People really thought, I don't know if he was going to actually develop into the football player that people really expect him to be. They thought just fast and speed is not going to get it done, especially in a very fast-paced league like the NFL, where guys are just bigger and better and have actually worked on their craft a lot. But he was able to just really reassure the Chargers organization as well as the NFL that he was going to be the best player in the draft and one of the best running backs of all time. So now we fast forward and we go right to his stats, and Charger for life, had his best years there. Went to New York, played for 2 years with what they wanted as a Super Bowl contender. Didn't get it done. They got to the championship game, still lost. When you have to verse those Pittsburgh Steelers or those Indianapolis Colts, it's hard to really get to the Super Bowl, especially when you have Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger in your way. Now, let's take a look at what he has done as a pro, though. So, he played in 170 games. He had 3,174 carries for 13,684 rushing yards, 145 rushing touchdowns, an average of 4.3, with Longest run was 85 yards. His average pretty much per game, 80.5 yards per game. That's his average. He also had 624 receptions for 4,772 receiving yards, 7.6 average reception, and 17 receiving touchdowns. Again, another case for why he was also great was because he was also able to catch and able to run with that. Not also just carry the ball, but also catch the ball and get through the backfield by receptions and the passing game and the running game. You know, he is a strong suit of him. Now, his yards from scrimmage, 18,456 yards. It's a lot. That's actually ranks, I'm pretty sure, like top 5 in there. Like it's pretty high up there. Anyway, he did have 30 fumbles in his career. Now, for 11 years, to have 30 fumbles, honestly, it's not what you think. You might think, wow, it's a lot, but it was actually his rookie year where he had 8 fumbles, and the 2004 year where he had 6 fumbles. Other than that, he had like maybe 1, 2, 3 fumbles a year, which isn't the best. It's not great, but it's not terrible. You know, it's going to happen. You're going to have those type of numbers happen. It's going to happen. Anyway, in the playoffs, he was in the playoffs from 2004, 2006, 2007, as well as 2008, 2009, and 2010 with the New York Jets. So he played in 10 playoff games. He had 131 rushing yards, 131 carries, 468 rushing yards, and had 6 rushing touchdowns. 3.6 was his average. 46.8 was his average per game in those playoffs. He also had 25 receptions, 176 receiving yards, and 7 yards per reception with 1 touchdown, as well as 2 fumbles. Didn't really fumble much, which is a great thing. The only problem was the fact that he didn't have really that protection, that line, and just the team just wasn't developed enough to really push into a Super Bowl. And that's why his performance was not really like the best in terms of what you could have seen with like a Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith. Again, Emmitt Smith had a very terrific line, so we must credit that for his success as a running back in total. But anyway, Danny Tomlinson did not have much help, I would say, honestly, from what I've seen, from me watching him as well. He just didn't have enough help there to really push him into the Super Bowl. And again, Phillip Rivers was a young dude, right now he's a stud, but he has no help right now. But before then, he had him, but he was still young. He was still trying to develop as a quarterback. So I do not blame him. I just blame it just wasn't the time. It wasn't meant to be. And so he didn't get a Super Bowl. Another guy that didn't get a Super Bowl going into the Hall of Fame, but he's still going to be recognized as one of the best running backs of all time. And you want to look at his awards. I mean, it's pretty impressive kind of list here. I mean, he was an NFL MVP in 2006. He also won 2006 NFL Burt Bell Award, which is Player of the Year. 2006 Offensive Player of the Year. 2006 Walter Payton Man of the Year. The Pro Football Hall of Fame First Team All 2000s team, according to the Pro Football Reference First Team All 2000s team, and the 2001 NFL All Rookie team. He was a part of 5 Pro Bowls, 2002, 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007. A 3 First Team All Pro, 2004, 2006, 2007. As well as, 3,174 carries, ranks 5th all time. His rushing yards ranks 5th all time. His rushing touchdowns ranks 2nd all time. His rushing yards per game ranks 17th all time. His rushing and receiving touchdowns rank 3rd. His touchdowns overall rank 3rd again. His receptions rank 61st. 624 receptions, pretty nice. Some receivers don't even get that much. Yards from scrimmage, it ranks 5th. And touches 4th. So overall, he's very high on the list of a lot of records, and he is very valuable as a player. He was very valuable then. He's very valuable now. That's why he's going to the Hall of Fame. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, LaDainian Tomlinson, and congratulations. Quarterback Kurt Warner. Now, Kurt Warner is one of those, pretty much one of the best stories of all time. I love this Kurt Warner story, and it just makes me feel like you can be in the worst possible situation, but if you get that opportunity and that chance, you run with it. You run with it because it's almost like it's put on a platform for you. Like it's meant for you to do it. So don't look back. Just keep working hard and keep doing it. It's a great story, and that's why I love this story. I love hearing this story. It's amazing. And it just makes me appreciate just life and just in general everything. But before I get all preachy and all spiritual and kind of thing, because it just got me in that kind of vibe, this kind of story. Just wow, it's just a really impactful story for me, in terms of what I'm at in my life and what I want to achieve as well. But anyway, Kurt Warner. First of all, let's go back and let's see his entire. Let's see his whole synopsis of how he got here. So first of all, let's start. He was born, his place of birth was Burlington, Iowa, and he pretty much grew up in Iowa. He went to high school in Iowa, and he graduated in '89, around there. Went to the University of Northern Iowa. So, he was third on the Panthers depth chart until senior year. When he was finally given the chance to start, he was named the Gateway Conference Offensive Player of the Year. So obviously, getting the chance, the opportunity, he made the most of it. He had the talent. Now, Green Bay calls. He went undrafted, actually. 94 draft. He's invited to try out for the Green Bay Packers training camp. Released before the regular season. And again, he was competing for a spot against Brett Favre, another Hall of Famer, now that's in the Hall of Fame, and Mark Brunell and Heisman Trophy winner Ty Detmer. And he had coaches like Mike Holmgren. He had Steve Mariucci as his quarterback coach. Andy Reid was the offensive assistant. But he was released. And Mariucci said that he knew Warner had enormous potential. He just wasn't ready to be an NFL quarterback yet. Now, after his release, he literally was stocking shelves in a grocery store in Cedar Falls for $5.50 an hour. And it looked like that was going to be his life until there was a job opening at the Arena Football League. Obviously, before he returned to Northern Iowa, he worked as a graduate assistant coach with the football team. Still trying to get another tryout with an NFL team. But since he didn't get a chance, he went to the Arena Football League. In '95, he signed with the Iowa Barnstormers. He actually won AFL's first team All-Arena in '96-'97. He led him to 2 Arena Bowl appearances in both seasons, and he was very impressive. And it was really impressive. He actually was named 12th out of the 20 best arena football players of all time. So that's something to really talk about. Anyway, '97 season comes around. He tries out for the Bears, injures his elbow because of a spider bite during his honeymoon. Couldn't attend the tryout. 2000, pretty much what happened was, we're just taking a look at his whole Arena Football League kind of thing. When he broke out in the NFL, Arena Football League actually used his name for a video game, Kurt Warner's Arena Football Unleashed. So that was pretty cool. He's also an Arena Football Hall of Famer. So that's really cool. He actually got inducted in 2011. Now, in 1997, he was finally signed by the St. Louis Rams. And, he was, at the time, it was to a futures contract. He was allocated to an NFL Europe's team, Amsterdam Admirals. His backup, though, at the time was Jake Delhomme, who obviously was another dude that went from nothing to something. Unfortunately, his story, we might review that sometime. We'll see about how Jake Delhomme became rags to riches, but then back to rags a bit. Anyway, now, he returned to the United States for the season. He spent the 98 season as the St. Louis third starting quarterback behind Tony Banks and Steve Bono. And then he ended his season 4 of 11, 39 yards, 47.2 QB rating. Not great. We're going to jump to the 99 season. Now, in the 99 season, pretty much the 99 season, the free agency period, the Rams chose Warner to be one of the team's 5 unprotected players in the 99 expansion draft. So he went unselected by the Cleveland Browns. So he was fine. He was staying in St. Louis. Now, the Rams, they let Bono leave in free agency, and they signed Trent Green to be the starter. Banks was traded to the Ravens, and Warner was now second on the depth chart. Now, you probably know this, many of you, if you follow football. If you followed football back then, I'm not sure if you're a very avid fan. But I don't know if you guys know, but in the preseason, Trent Green went down. ACL. I'm pretty sure it was an ACL tear. Actually, yeah, it was an ACL tear. And Dick Vermeil blatantly said, yeah, Warner is going to be our starter. We're going to roll with him. And we're going to see how it goes, you know. And this was a team that was, you know, they had Bruce, they had Holt, they had Hakeem, they got Prohl, they got Marshall Faulk. This is a team that was potentially could be a very good team, you know. Not, obviously, for some people, it might not have been a Super Bowl contending team. At the same time, they could have. It just, with Warner, that just completely, that was a huge debacle. People were like, I don't think Warner can get this team to the promised land. But sure enough, he took the reins, and he put just one of the best seasons in quarterback in NFL history, honestly. He threw for 4,353 yards, 41 passing touchdowns, had a completion rate of 65.1%, and all because of offensive coordinator Mike Martz and their whole team. They became the greatest show on turf. And it was all thanks to Kurt Warner and you know, a big portion to him. A lot of key pieces in there that had to be mentioned. You know, Marshall Faulk, Holt, Mike Martz, Dick Vermeil was a great coach, to be quite honest with you. You know, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Hakeem, they had great years. But you got to give it to Kurt Warner. From a guy that was $5.50 an hour at a store to now making the greatest show on turf. And what happened was, on that year, first of all, they won their first division title since '85, and then they get to the Super Bowl, and they beat the Titans in the Super Bowl of that year, and he threw for like 414 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. That was great. You know, he won the Super Bowl MVP. Didn't throw an interception. Just fabulous. Just a fabulous QB. And that's it. Like, they got it. He became that guy. And again, like I said, they won a Super Bowl. Now, after that, all of that stuff we all know about, you know, he was still very valuable, obviously. He didn't seem to stop. He just got better. He got great. He led the Rams back to a Super Bowl. And then another legend was born. His name is Tom Brady. So, unfortunately, he had that loss to him. He did go to the Giants for a year. You know, it didn't really last long, like a year in there. Because Eli was the man, honestly. He was going to be the future, in a way. And then he went to Arizona, finished out his career, led him all the way to the Super Bowl. That was a great Cinderella story. He led the Rams Cinderella story, and he led a Cardinals Cinderella story. Unfortunately, there was one that was victorious and one that was just short. And he had to face a great defensive team and Ben Roethlisberger and a very clutch San Antonio Holmes catch. All in all, they could have won. It was a great Super Bowl, one of the best Super Bowls of all time. He's one of 2, but at least he got 1 ring. And you know what? At least he's now, could say he's a Hall of Famer. A person that was working for $5.50 an hour is now a Hall of Famer. It's nuts. and you look at it, you just look at it. He's a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. You know, it's just fantastic. So let's get into the numbers and all of his awards, though. First of all, he played in 124 games. As a record, he won 67 games. He lost 49. He completed 2,666 passes. Had a 65.5 completion percentage. 32,344 passing yards. 208 touchdowns. 128 interceptions. His longest pass was 85 yards. Average pass was 7.9. Average per game was a 260.8 yards. And he had an overall career record of a 93.7 QB rating. He got sacked 260 times, but he had 9 fourth quarter comebacks and 14 game-winning drives. Now, in the playoffs, he did play 13 games in the playoffs. He went 9-4. He had 307 completions for 66.5 completion percentage, 3,952 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. 77 was his longest pass. On average, he would have a 8.6 around there, but average per game, you see 304 passing yards. That's pretty great. And 102.8 QB rating, 19 sacks. He had 2 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. Now, we have to look at what he did as a person, like in terms of awards and all that. And like I said, it's very impressive. So we look at, like I said, NFL MVP 99. The 99 Burt Bell Award, which is Player of the Year. The 99 Super Bowl MVP. The 2001 MVP. And the 2008 Walter Payton Man of the Year. He went to 4 Pro Bowls, 99, 2000, 01, and 08. He was a 2-time first-team All-Pro in 99 and 2001. And you see passes completed, he's 37th on the all-time list. Pass attempts, he's 53rd. Passing yards, he's 38th. Passing TDs, he's 35th. Passer rating, he is 10th. Interceptions, he's 80th. Sacks, he's 61st. Passing yards a game, he's 7th all-time. Yards per pass attempt, he's 6th actually, 7.9, right? 6th. And it's just amazing, you know? It's amazing. And again, 9 career comebacks, you know? 14 career game-winning drives. That ranks in the top 100, you know? That's great. It's just a great dude, a very humble man. I'm so excited to just see him talk, and I can't wait to see what he says. And welcome to the Hall of Fame, Kurt Warner. You deserve it. You deserve it, and you inspire me, and you inspire, I'm sure, a lot of people. So congrats.